I'm Masech the Ma'aser Sheni that New Testament all the Dina Shmut. The Bas Halamas Hamis Yirushalmei Rabbi Yitzchak. Nishmas Shkevin Hayester. There's Avon Yaakov Elazar Ben Zed Yirushalmei. See the Mishnah again on both sides. Look at the Mishnah. Karen Ravai. Oilo Yirushalayim Ahalach Yemecha B'Chol Tzad. The thing is that Karen Ravai, they brought in from one day outside Yerushalayim, all the grapes that grew in the Karen had to come to Yerushalayim. Why was that? Look to play Moshe. The reason for this was to beautify the streets of Yerushalayim. There was not enough payers, they used to use everything for the Zochim. That was the reason that we saw the other day. Yeah. This is exactly where the Mahalch Yemecha, the Mishnah says Yemecha, and exactly where it came from. Ayel is min Adorim, Akev is min Atzofim, Velud min Amayrim, Yad min Amizach, Mishirobu HaPeiris. Now, so this was a takana that they made. Now, Mishirobu HaPeiris, when they didn't need it anymore, because there was plenty of Peiris in Yerushalayim, Yiskinu Shei Nivda Sama L'choyma, you could be paid it and take it for yourself. You don't have to bring it to Yerushalayim. Now, when you brought it to Yerushalayim, by the way, what do? You couldn't sell it because it's not Nimka. So there'd be Ma'aser Sheni, it's not Nimka. So you brought these payers to Yerushalayim, it's just La'ata is Yerushalayim. There was no Panos, there was no Mekach Memka on these payers. It's just sitting there that they should be beautified to Yerushalayim. That's all. You could eat it, yeah, it's yours, but you can't sell it. So it wasn't like a commercial that you put in the store. It's like Ma'aser Sheni Yerushalayim. Make the streets nice. Look in the Asirilla. Karen Revai Hoyle Yerushalayim. The Fisha Amar Torah Kodesh Hilulim. That's the word of the pasuk. But Goma Kodesh Kodesh. The word Kodesh says here by Karen Revai. It says by Ma'aser Sheni. Many times we saw this drasha. This guy Shabbat Shetzorich, so that the Karen Revai is for Ma'aser Sheni. Shetzorich La'alas HaPeis Yerushalayim. Oilev Doisam Ala Kesef. Umala Dom of Yerushalayim V'Achim Sham. If you paid it, you have to bring the money to Yerushalayim. Obe, one day outside Yerushalayim, from these cities, Tiknu Chachamim D'Chamim Takona L'Chol Ruach Shelo Yivdeyu. You can't be paid it. Ela Peis Atzman Yalu V'Yochlu B'Yerushalayim Kedim Fayish Tam V'Gemara. The Gemara is going to say the time, but Al Kaponim K'dei Lata Yerushalayim. Why is there some mitzvah from K'dei Lata Yerushalayim? This is not Melachzich in that time. What's the pshat in Lata Yerushalayim? What does this mean? We have to understand what that means exactly. Ayalas v'akrebes v'lud v'yadem. What? Who is Hamas Nezvot? Where the regel? Yeah. What's the? Amatzev. All right. Huh? Action. Okay. I did tell you. Right? This is reason, but so I'm not about it. Shame on Matzah. Ayelas Akevas Beludai Biyadin, Kulam Mahalach Yom Yerushalayim, Memucha B'Gemara, the Dafke B'Kerem Tiknu Hochi. The Gemara says Dafke Kerem Ravai. Avashah Peiris, other Peiris, I feel Bizmash Beis Midish Kayim. Nivdin, it's only a din in Shulitz, only a din in Karen Ravai. This episode is not in Karen Ravai. What about Net Ravai? So the Manan, the famous Tosis Yontiv, Shamol Gezem, the Tosis Yontiv, but other palm. Why after this? So this is the famous, the Gemara says, Tani is Tani Karen Ravai, is Tani Net Ravai, right? The Gemara in Berachah, some cases in Berachah. Vice does from the Gemara, there's some machlokes Ketem Ravai Netabah. From here is also mashma from this Mishnah. Shlosheh Dafke Keren Ravai, not Netabah. This is mit the Netabah. Why is Netabah the same din? Why Dafke Keren Ravai? Zug the Tosis Yontiv. Moedik Chiddush. Passing it over because the Moedik Chiddush and not this Gedenken. Because this is the pshat in the Gemara. If you push pshat and then case in Bochum, you think there's a machlokes. He says like this: Kosev Arav, Karen Ravai Oil Yishlam, into the Mishnah. Toch sheyochel adam nat Ravai shaloi. The Karen Ravai lav dafke. Yeah, Rabbi said. Karen Ravai is lav dafke. Steht in the Mishnah. Istoni Keren Ravai, Istoni Netter Ravai. It's Keren Ravai Dafke, and Netter Ravai Dafke. So Machloikis, yeah? The Lav Dafke, the Taisanta, who are din Kol Netta, the interchangeable. It's going to be hard to interchange it here, because here's the din Netter Ravai is all the Paris. Keren Ravai is Dafke grapes. It's in a vineyard, right? This din that they made at Takona, the Chomon gemacht at Takona, Mahalach Yem Echod, the Chol Tzad, it's only din in an oven. No other Paris had this din that you have to take it up to Yerushalayim. And here he says, the fish is so, but the Keren Ravai lav dafke, who I didn't call Neta, because in the Kamah Mishnah Dalet, can't support it, Neta Ravai, Kamah Shesat the Kamah Mishnah Pei Zayin, she brings rice to this. Chem Sechte Beye, Perikam, because the Rashi Masid noch geplukte the Kates that Mevochin, Istani Keren Ravai, Istani Neta Ravai. It's a mashma the word is the Yom Machlokes. He says no. Istani Muzuk Mazoy. It means there's no Machlokes. The Kloimer, the Lutoni Neta Hochinami Neta Irina Chestam Masnisim Pei Beis the Bikurim Commandam Neta Ravai. Abel Harambam Pei Tes Mechmai Sheni Kosam Anobim Shel Keren Ravai Oilin. B'shakal ha'peiris hafil bizman beis ha'migdash nivdum samul l'chaymer. This Mishnah that we're saying now, it's only a din on an oven zok the Rambam. But other peiris, even though samul l'chaymer, there's no din of oilim. You can just you could be paid it. Zayt medoch that there's an afkamin who cares Keren Ravai and Neta Ravai. Istoni azoi, is taka machlokes. Because the Baal Kesem Mishnah, Yirushalmי shemitchilu lo gozu ela anovim ad kan l'shayim. Look at the Kesem Mishnah. The Gzeira was only on an oven. Weiss Leis, the Machna Shayin Yirushalayim, the Itu Yirushalayim is only on the grapes, nothing else. V'zeh lo shana Yirushalmi. Amar Rabbi B'shoyno yosin yayin b'tahara. What was the reason? They used to make the yayin b'tahara, the Nesachim, and Meilus was lo yayin novim mitzuyas. They didn't have enough grapes to make the Nesachim in the base of Mikdash. That's the reason for our takon and into the Mishnah. Rashi v'arav yesh lo mishasov shemitchilu hoysa takon al novim mitam Nesachim. Because of the Nesachim of the base of Mikdash. That's what it means. The Ata Yirushalayim, because they needed the wine for the Nesachim. And Mele, there was now nothing left in the streets. So he's saying for the Gemara in Beir, the Ata Shukri Yirushalayim is Chol HaPeiris, Lav Dafke Keren Ravai, the Mali Ite HaShuk Banovim, Mali b'shah Peres. All the Rishonim are saying over here in Novim, he brings the Gemara in Beir that Latas Shukri Yirushalayim, it's a Mishkan Afkimit. What? It's Lav Davke. What's the Afkimit? It's nice grapes. Other Peres are also nice. Also shines. Huh? Okay. Maybe Shivasimit. Shet is only Shivasimit. It's not Bikurim here. That's next one. Okay. Oy v'peiris doma koma. Say peiris doesn't say here that doesn't say. Begam Rabbi Yochanan Gufa iu mored the Talmud Yirushalmi. Look at my fashion the Masis noch the Av gab the Tony Keren Ravai. Lo yedifim mishnai sachez Tony nami Keren Ravai, and it doesn't mean dafke Keren Ravai. It means Neta Ravai. Umatli Talyim beplukted is Tony. V'sabi the Hochi Noki Rabbi Yochanan Stam. V'sabi commandam Tony Neta Ravai. So you're going back and forth over here. You see for Shidna Rayas, there is Dafke, your Dafke, Kerem, is a Machlokes, not a Machlokes. So we'll see how he comes out at the end. But Rav Shabol Lefash LaLocha Mefash Lamasiz Gemanda Tony Neta Ravai. The Rav says in our Mishnah, stayed on the Mishnah Keren Ravai, Yesh Loidin Maisi Sheni. This is the Lashon of the Batanura. V'tzarach La'alas HaPeis Yishlayim Lochon Shom. Opidyom Tikter Chom Shmalach Yem Echad. Shiach kol odem Neta Ravai Shaloi. Yismala Shuk Shar Peris. So by says the Rav is not Dafke Keren Ravai. Zok V'achi Hilchus. Ava Rambam Shepos Masis Dochi Keren Ravai Dafke. The Rambam Paskins here, he says Keren Ravai. Doesn't say Neta Ravai. Vice he holds that Takis Yodom Machlokes. So Mechloim the Peis is not. Rabbi Yochanan says Stoma Late Shuke Yerushalayim. Doesn't say the Dafke Keren Ravai, and to beautify the streets can do why Dafke grapes. What's wrong with apples and pears and plum and all of these things? The Noki the Yochanan Hainu Peres the Keren. Ubishleim the Eshpeg. Okay, there you go back. Shem. Umi Yeshleim the Shlokish Masis. Okay, 1 second. Oh. So he comes and he says now, Moed Gezach. By Rabbi Chibram. So we had the Gemara said before, one Omid back, the Rebbe says that we came asking, Man Toni Ken Rabbi Neter Rabbi. That's what they came to ask Rebbe. What is it? Ken Rabbi Neter Rabbi. What did Rebbe answer? Go to the Yitzchak Grove. And they went to the Yitzchak Grove, and he said that the first three Mishnahs, Ken Rabbi. The other Mishnahs is going into the Masechta, and into the Perek, says Neter Rabbi. What kind of teretz is that? So Tzaloyma HaMishnah Mitam de B'Yochanan. V'adai Haini Tamish, Yesh Plukta Atanoyim. There is a machlok. V'shoni Rabbi Pam Kizeh Upam Kizeh. Amol Deglen catch Neter Rabbi, and sometimes he says Ken Rabbi, and there's a machlokes. And sometimes he went like this Tana. In the first three Mishnah he went like Neter Ken Rabbi, and the next three Mishnah he went Neter Rabbi. U'b'ochi nida li Yashiv Gam Ken Amai Heshiv Rabbi Lezunu Shishol Rabbi Yitzchak. Why did Rabbi answer him? Go ask Rabbi Yitzchak Grove. Rabbi didn't know. Rabbi's the Masada for all the Mishnayos. Rabbi Sham Mishnayos B'chunas and Mitzurofis Esloi. Also when he says Yitzchak Grove, the one who's boich in the Mishnayos, and Rabbi Nish, but Rabbi Chibram, Rabbi was the Mechaber of the Mishnayos. Im hu lo yoda, Rabbi Yitzchak Menola. It wasn't once they go to Rabbi Yitzchak Grove, it says Rabbi Shviz, that Rabbi Yitzchak Yogavis, and it was a simple question: is this Ken Rabbi or Neter Rabbi? What is it? Aval lema shekasafti the Rabbi lo rotze listum kechad. Rabbi knew the machlokes, and he didn't want to pass it in the Mishnah. Mishim hochi pam tona kem and pam tona neter. Amol to tell you that I don't know what he means to say over here. Amol to gezut azoi, amol to gezut azoi, and he didn't want to be machriya. Efshe shenishkach mimenu. That's what Tosis Yonah. Efshe Rabbi hat vergessen, Ezu hu Shoshana Kach, Ezu hu Shoshana Kach. Is it like this or is it like that? Shemimnei shaloi hoisin nafkusa la'alocha. I don't know what this means. It's not an afkimin la'alocha. Mekivin shaloi sosan kechad loi rotze lahatrid atzma shei boki bekach. He held there was no afkimin la'alocha. What do you mean no afkimin la'alocha? Shani what this means. Other Karen, another about. Meaning that if you have to take up the payers from one day around Yerushalmi, although you should stay do by the summer Farshim learn, like the plain Moshe said, only Karen. Other payers you don't have to schlep it up to Yerushalmi. Somebody can take it up. So somebody can have given. Why does he say over here? Shevnei shaloi oisin afkus la'alocha mikivin shaloi sosam kechad leirotze la'atid atzma sheyiboki bekach. V'doime l'domer abchiyah l'rab ba'pachsi ki koi Rebbe b'ho mesechta. The famous member of Rebbe is in this Masechta, but the Shaila Masechta Achid. Don't ask him what's going on in this Masechta. Why? If he show you Torah, B'chidda HaMasechta Ahi. Rebbe was Masada, the Mishnayos in the Masechta, and he was Fanuman, so don't bother him with something else. Yitzchak was not the Masada. He was the one that was learning from Rebbe, the Mishnayos, so maybe he had more time, and he wasn't in the Torah, so maybe you could ask him all over. So Mela, you could ask him over here in this Masechta, and you know Rabbi, you can't ask because Rabbi is busy with the Etzim Gis itself. There where there's no Mashal, is the Mashal and Nishmachir. But when you have the Mashal was Megir, the Gisses, so that must be the Mashal, Klorin is the halacha like the Mashal. So Rabbi was already Megir, all the Mishnayos, and Mela, Yitzchak had an easier time. That's what he says over there. Rabbi shoy by Bukhari says it comes nice. Hey, chen shnuis afgav lo nafki minay midli lalochim. The Ma'aser says there's no nafki minay. Which Stein is because the Rambam, you see the Rambam does pass in lalochim. That nafki can't buy. Unless he's saying that the one who holds Neter Rabbi is lav dafke. Fragt the Mishnah Rishoyne on into the Mishnah Ken Rabbi hoy oilu Yerushalayim. B'tzorach tam lo muloi tiknu gam b'maisa sheni tikon azuk hatakasha. Why is this takona that they said that Ken Rabbi you should take it to Yerushalayim and you can't be pointed one day outside Yerushalayim? Kedei latis Yerushalayim. Why didn't they make the same takona on maisa sheni? Shei oilu Yerushalayim. They fake the Mishnah Rishoyne. V'nire the kim the tam takona hu mishum la'atis shuku Yerushalayim oy mishum nusachim. So he's saying there's two reasons. Either because of after the shuk of Yerushalayim, or because they needed the yain for the nesachim. The way I understood the Gemara, they used it first for the nesachim, and they didn't have enough payers for the shuk. There was no payers left for the shuk. Everything went to the for the nesachim. He's learning pshat is there was two reasons. Or they needed it for the nesachim, So they had to bring up the grapes for the Nesachim to make the Nesachim in the Mizbeach, or they needed for that Yisur Yerushalayim. Two reasons. With Tavai L'Shaychi b'Maiser. That's not Shaychi b'Maiser Sheni. Why? The Kaimel and Beis Kama Shein Moichin Oisoi. I said before that they brought the Paris up the net to the Keren Avai. You can't sell that to Keren Avai either. Because Keren Avai had to Chadiv b'Maiser Sheni that Lo Yimkav Lo Yiko. You can't sell it. He's laying out like that. He's saying the Kaimel and Beis Kama Shein Moichin Oisoi. V'Kivin Shein Nimka. You can't sell it. You can't sell the Ma'aser Sheni. It's ain't kind of iter shvokim. He's learning that the Keren Avai you could sell it. So maybe if you sell it, so you sell it to the shopkeepers and it makes a nice street fair. Or by Ma'aser Sheni there's a din you can't sell it. Sheni bo lidei chembenin. It doesn't come to the storekeepers. V'lo the gizbar in l'nesachim, and it doesn't go to the gizbar for the Nesach HaYayin in the Beis HaMikdash. Ava Keren Avai, Ava got these kisses of Ma'aser, it's more to the Chiddush. Even though Keren Avai, we just saw, it's Kodesh, it's kisses to Ma'aser Sheni, but the Yalef, El Dvarim, HaMufuroshim b'Ma'aser, this Gzeir Shava is only for things that are Mufurish by Ma'aser Sheni, which is what? We'll soon see in the Mishnah, V'hainu Choymish, Ubir. Ava Issa Mechira, the Afina b'Ma'aser Mesiv, who b'Aviyosa here that you can't sell the Ma'aser Sheni lo yalfu l'Revai. The Revai by Keren Avai lo yiksiv kodesh hu elo kodesh l'chut doesn't say who. So Mela it's azovi shah kodeshim the truma nami yikah kodesh umutam mechira you can sell it. So this was says over Keren Avai you brought it to Yerushalayim and you sold it in Yerushalayim. You sold it to the Chemveri. What do you mean Peshish Makadesh the Meir Revai and in Itl Mamatona? Okay. But upon him, those the Pshat is into Yerushalayim is or because of the Nesachim. These are two different reasons, and you could sell it. You can't sell it. Look the Mishnah weiter. Look the Mishnah weiter. Mishirabba HaPeiros, when they had enough Peiros in Yerushalayim. So what is kino? So they made another takana. She nivda samach l'chaim that you could be poided. And the further said you can't be poided. You have to schlep it to Yerushalayim. Mishirabu HaPeiros look the Pnei Moshe in the last line on the left. Hoya mitzuyim b'Yerushalayim, and you had enough Peiros, so you don't have to worry about the itur or the nesachim. How he learns the skinu she nivda afil samach l'chaim. What does it mean skinu? Why did you say you took off the first takana? Because taking off the first takana, the Gemara is mefarish and beyer. Because ein bezni yochel lahatas dibe chaveda and getting godly men b'chachma v'vinyan. So that's why they couldn't take it off. And what they did was they made another takana. You could just say let's be mevatel the first takana. So two reasons. One is you can't mevatel it because it has to be godly men b'chachma v'vinyan, and maybe they didn't have that. So they made another takana. Mishirabba HaPeiros is kini she'nivda samach l'chayma. You could be poided samach l'chayma. And then they made a condition. In the second takana, they made a condition that it should be flexible. What does it mean flexible? Whenever you're going to want to change back, you don't have to make another takana to change it back. But this takana, the second takana, is going to go away when you need it. In other words, when you need back the pace in Yerushalayim, the takana was not to be pointed samach Yerushalayim because they needed the pace on the Mizbeach. So the second takana was a flexible takana. The first takana was what? Everything has to go to Yerushalayim. They didn't have in mind that they won't need it later because there'll be enough payers. And the second takana, they say, okay, this is going to be a flexible takana, similar to the takana by Havdalah. First they made it by Hadas, then they made it on Havdalah, and then when they didn't have enough money, they made it flexible. Came back Havdalah Azoy and Havdalah Azoy. Rabbi Yossi is arguing on the Tanakam, and he says like this. Mishchav Beis HaMikdash. When the Beis HaMikdash was nechrav, hoya t'nai hazeh, they made this tnai. In other words, you don't need any more the Itu Yerushalayim. So they made another takana and said, now you don't have to bring it anymore. You can be pointed outside Yerushalayim. And they made it flexible. But tnai, ein misai sheyiv the Beis HaMikdash, and they said in the second tnai, they made a condition. You know why you don't have to bring it? Because now there's a chub, and there's no din of Itu Yerushalayim. You don't have to make the streets nice when there's no Beis HaMikdash. But they said, ein misai sheyiv the Beis HaMikdash b'meinu, there'll be a chazara of this night, and you have to bring all the payers up. So he says over here, V'tnai yoya adova, zut pnei Moshe, sheyad adova l'choi shoya hakal lefi azman. Whatever it's going to be, you need it, you don't need it, that's how it's going to work. Rabbi Yossi Yoimim, Mishchor Beis Hamikdash Tnai yoya zeh kloimer. Zatnai hu de palik. Rabbi Yossi is mechulik on this flexible tonight. The vada Mishchor Hamikdash l'kulama lo ychoshish shei matan shukri yishlam. Everybody's masking. B'shas hachurban, you don't have to bring the pays to the streets of Yerushalayim. Ben shiyah pays merubim oiloi. This that the Tanakama said in the second Takona. They gave you the opportunity to do as you needed, what's going to be necessary. That's not how it was. In the second Tanayo is everything is going to come back when the Beis Hamikdash is coming back.
Why isn't it the opposite? maybe even you're saying that if there's no Beis Hamikdash, they should make this Yerushalayim nice, right?
Right.
And maybe it should be like the opposite. Maybe it would be things happen positive later on. No.
What? Even when it's not the Chom, they should make it nice.
Yeah, I verstehe. Maybe we should make it nice anyway.
Why? Maybe.
Nice to see Yerushalayim is nice. I'm just thought about it. I don't know if it's.
But the Ma'aser is the Chum Mabayis. Once it's the Chum Mabayis, they didn't make it nice. It's a Chum. I don't know. It wasn't a Zeichel Chum. But anyway, look here in the Rash Tzedillah. Jump here to the fourth line. Amos, I just want to show you a very interesting thing here. Amos Hashivim Beis Hamikdash Me'edi Rimenum. He puts this in to the Gemara. Yazah Adav L'Kamei Shoyer. Shema'alach Yemechad Lo Yuchul L'Vdoisai. You can't be pointed. V'Ksova. This Tana holds, this Mandama holds, Beis Hamikdash Osid Libonis Koydem Malchus Beis David. Could the Issa be Gemara? The Beis Hamikdash in Mitzvah is going to be built without Malchus Beis David. You don't need Mashiach for this. Mishim Hachi Yutzuchul Asas Takonim is Man Oisa Ador Mikashivim. Take a look at the Lashon HaGemara, please. So there, this is not in the Bible. Look at the Gemara, the Lashon HaGemara. On the Af Mem Testament Aleph on the bottom. Rabbi Yossi Yomer, in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi. Omer Rabacher, Zok Rabacher. Zoyse Meres. Shebeis Hamikdash Osid Libonis Koydem L'Malchus Beis David. That's the Gemara. So I make a Kechesh in the Gemara. The Beis Hamikdash in Mitzvah Hashem, the Beis Hashlishi, will be built Koydem L'Malchus Beis David. Not to show Malchus Beis David, not to show Mashiach. Yeah? What? I mentioned it, but I want to show why I didn't mention it. Yeah, Reb Chaim took this. Chaim Kanevsky, Derech Hamuna, this is Perik Tes, Aloha Hey. With Reb Chaim Azoi, Sheda Afilu Saimul Chachayma, you could be pointed to Ma'aser, Kedin Ma'aser Sheni Shenivda, Afilu Pisi Acha Saimul Chachayma, that there's no Beis Hamikdash you can be pointed. Canal Peik Beis Halacha Ches. Ava b'Torch Yerushalayim. Iyaf Shlev Doisai. Afilu Bizman Hazeh. Canal Peik Beis Halacha Daled. Gabi Ma'aser Sheni. Im Yivne Beis Hamikdash. This was the Likut Chaim. Im Yivne Beis Hamikdash. Koydem L'Malchus Beis David. Yazeh David L'Kamei Shoyer. You have to be Matar Yerushalayim. Why is he changed the Lashon HaGemara? Zoyse Meres. Shebeis Hamikdash. He's saying
Babli not Mashal.
He's calling the Yisham. Im Yivne Beis Hamikdash going to Malchus Beis David. Yazeh David L'Kamei Shoyer. I know. Why says that this Gemara he's not like Zoyse Meres. It will be like that. He says Im Yivne Beis Hamikdash. Why should we read this Genimin? That's noch ein bisschen mehr Horb in Reb Chaim. Reb Chaim tut es. But I kaponim, what?
Zichron Mashiach B'dom Reb Zecha.
Yeah.
Zichron Yerushalayim Mirkachach. First is Mashiach, and then.
Okay. But this is more gesagt that Beis Hamikdash you don't need Mashiach for Beis Hamikdash. So what do you need? Makriv and Afa B'Shem Bayis. The halacha that you can makriv B'Shem Amol Gradus, right? You can makriv the Kom Pesach Afa B'Shem Bayis. You don't need the Beis Hamikdash you makriv the Kom, right? And what's the what? What? Because you need a Mizbeach. Because you need a Mizbeach. So how did you build the Beis Hamikdash without a Mizbeach? You don't need it.
Only the Chalil Navis can be pushed all the shells and tell us what to do.
So it could be a Bashir, not going to be, Malchus Beidov is not going to have, but can sign Nevi'im. Nevi'im Yozul misses this. No, no, the place. That's what he said. He said the base of the Benberg had to be Dafka where Adam Marisha was Makkah Kabbalah, Yitzchak was Makkah Kabbalah, Avraham was Makkah Dakedah. It's a specific place. This is Shiyavis, and you know how you know? Because the Moshe says, Malchus, how do they know where to put the Mizbeach? It started to talk. They said, don't pick up the stone. The stone started to talk to David HaMelech. But if you're going to pick it up, it's going to flood the whole world, right? David HaMelech didn't listen. He picked it up, and the whole world started to run with water. And he went and he got a Doka B'chorev. That's the famous thing. Whoever's not going to tell me, see, McKenna, I don't like the Shem Hashem in the water, he's Doka B'chorev. So my son Gavil, he asked me a kasha like this. He says, what's that? He says, the stone's talking. So why didn't they listen? Huh? Dr. Well said, that you should say, stone is talking, but the Hamel is not listening. Why? Because what I care about the stones. So why did he say that the Doka B'chorev? Who's not going to tell me? What was the problem putting in the Shem Hashem? Because it's Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah is Yimchik Hashem. Leisasen ken Hashem lekecho to be moichid l'Shem Avodah Zarah. Leisasen ken Hashem lekecho. So Rai Avodah Zarah to be Yimchik Hashem unless you add a drash that you could do it from the Rosh Bezdin, you couldn't do it.
Okay, good.